Somebody's sitting in my seat. Hey, that's my seat. Who else is out getting a drink?
Me.
All right. No, that's the last one. Close the door on the way in, Thomason. No. Come on. Everybody sit down. No, I wasn't talking to you, Thomason. I was talking to this. Come on, sit down. All right, we're trying to get class to start, guys. People in their bathroom breaks. All right, guys. Everybody look at me. We only got 2 gone. We can start class. We don't need them. All right. Hey, everybody, shh. Now I got a question for you. I got a question for you boys, and I got a question for you girls. I want to know who in here is honest enough to admit they're afraid of heights. Now, who is? Who's afraid of the heights? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna put my hand up because I am too. Like, all right, y'all who got your hands up, give me an example. Is you what? No, give me an example of some heights you don't like.
I went to the gathering place and I was on the bridge. And then I got scared, so I closed my eyes.
I'm trying to think of what bridge. Is it the bridge that goes over the water or the bridge in the playground?
The bridge in the playground.
In the playground. All right, Trinity.
One time me and my...
No, not stories. I just want to know what. Give me examples.
Mountains?
Mountains, yeah. All right, 2 right here.
Airplanes. A cloud.
Have you ever been to a cloud? Come on. A cloud. All right, I'll give you some examples. All right, Josiah, spit her up.
The first one
Josiah, come on. You did that all on purpose. I don't even know what you said. All right, shh. Now, sometimes I have to get on a ladder and get up to a 2-story house. I really don't like the 2-story ladder stuff.
Yeah, that's so
I don't like that stuff. When I get up past a certain height, I don't like it. Another thing is, now I thought I was a little bit better at this, but when I went more recently, I realized I got some growing to do. But roller coasters, I thought I was a little bit more brave with the roller coaster, but I found out I'm not as brave as I thought I was. All right, roller coasters. Now, how about this? Everybody look at me. How about this? We're talking about heights. Does anybody know what the tallest building in the whole world is?
A skyscraper!
I bet you nobody knows it. You were going to say skyscraper?
Yes,
All right, Corey? Hey, I'm talking, does anybody know what the name of the tallest building in the world is? Patience.
The tallest building.
That's a negative.
I know. Paris Tower.
No, that's tall. That's pretty tall. Eiffel Tower is tall. Javen, what is the tallest building in the world?
Heaven.
That's not a building. Noah?
The Twin Towers.
Nope. The Twin Towers are not around anymore. Okay. Shh. Listen to me. I'm going to spit you out some facts. Listen, everybody look at me. Hey, I said everybody look at me. Give me your eyes. Close your mouths. Shh. The tallest building in the world is called the Burj Khalifa. It is in Saudi Arabia. Listen to this. It is. Now, this right here is called 1 foot. This right here is called 2 feet. This building is 2,716 feet tall.
Can you show us the picture?
I don't have a picture. 2,716. Mr. Preston, he's going for it. He can probably get us a picture. It is called the Burj Khalifa. Now, to give you a little bit of example, listen to me. It's over half a mile tall. Half a mile tall. Can you believe that?
Isn't even that tall.
It's very tall.
Like those circles when you have it like that sports.
No. A mile to drive is not very far, but a mile straight up is very far. Very far. Okay. So, everybody looking at me? Hey, are you pulling up a picture?
Yep. On the screen.
Let's see if we can get a picture. If you see this tower, it's pretty cool.
I fondly remember the opening of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai back in 2010. I was standing on the street in
What
my
in the world?
clothes, cranking my...
I think
That sounds like a movie. All right, hey, shush, shh. Listen to me. Josiah, come on, listen to me. All right, girls, up here. I'm gonna tell you something else. If you were to stand at the top of this building, just imagine yourself at the top, half a mile up in the sky. If you were to stand at the top of this building, hang on. Oh, okay, we're pulling up a picture. Listen, don't call out my name. Shh, I might give you a strike, okay? Oh, we're getting us something. Man, just tell me when you got it, okay? Because I'm gonna move on. All right, everybody, hang on. I know we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in a second. But everyone, look at me. I'm not gonna have everybody keep talking, okay? Everybody, put the bubbles in your mouth. Put the bubbles in your mouth. Hey, you, Andre. No talking. I'm looking. Hey, I'm gonna give you a strike, and I'm not kidding. All right. Shh. If you were to fall off the top of this building, it would take you 13 seconds to hit the ground. This building, if you fell off the top of this, you would be falling at 127 miles an hour. That is so fast. When you drove here, you were probably going 45, 50 miles an hour. But if you were to free fall off this thing, it would be 127 miles an hour. That is so fast.
Can you skydive?
Wait, hang on. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's very pointy. It's pointy. Look at it. There it is right there. Pause it, Preston. Pause it. Hey, make that thing full screen. You can't hit that full screen button.
Yeah, I can.
All right, so this is the building. It goes all the way up to a point, and that's half a mile.
The building's small.
And did you know that people actually have to clean windows up there?
Oh, God.
Can you imagine yourself being one of the people that have to clean the windows?
Mr. Josh.
All right, that's impressive. Now take it down, Mr. Preston. I need to keep. Hey, hold on.
Didn't you say the building's big? Why is it so small?
All right, yeah, take it off there. All right, now listen to this. This is what I'm trying to get you guys to think about. Listen. Shh, look at me. Just describe to me, if you had to be on the very, very top of that building, at the very top, how would that make you feel? Would you be nervous? Have you ever been so scared that your legs were shaking? How did you know that when you're at the top of that, the wind gusts, I read, they can reach, hey, shh, look at me. They can reach up to 120 miles an hour, the wind blowing up there really fast. Imagine yourself at the very top of that tower. And you have to clean the windows. And the wind is gusting. and you can feel yourself slipping over the edge, how would that make you feel?
Scared.
You could feel your toes slipping off the edge. How would that make you feel, Corey? Okay, he says excited. Okay. The fear, listen to me. Shh. The fear would be terrifying. It would be so scary being at the top of that with the wind gusting and your very life is in danger. You feel like you're slipping and the fear would be racing through me and you're trying to stay on. And would that not be terrifying? Yes, it would. But listen to this. If you had a parachute on, would you be able to calm your fears a little bit? If you had a parachute on, would that change anything? Now, I'm not saying you wouldn't have any fear. That's not what I'm saying. It would still be scary. But if you had a parachute, you could actually stop some of that fear. Because if you trust in that parachute, you know, I'm not going to hit the ground at 120 miles an hour on my face. I'm going to hit the ground at about 5 or 6 miles an hour on my feet. That's a big difference, right? That parachute would save you. And with that parachute, you would be able to push down some of that fear. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of.
You get what I'm saying? Without the parachute, totally, absolutely terrifying. Very hard to control the fear, right? Very hard. But with the parachute, it gets pretty easy. It's still scary. I'm not saying it's not scary. But all of a sudden, you would be able to have a handle on your fears, right?
Yeah.
All right, you with me so far?
Yeah.
Trust can turn a scary situation into a not so scary situation.
Huh?
Trusting in the parachute can change a scary situation into a not so scary situation, right? Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Why? Because you trusted in something that could save you. That parachute would save you. That's good news. Okay. Now, when you put your trust in a parachute, you can have peace in the middle of the storm. That's what's standing on top of that building. It's kind of like a storm. It's kind of like chaos, fear. It's like a storm being up there. It's bad. It's not good. Storms can be very bad. But if you have trust in something that could save you, it could give you peace. You wouldn't be so covered in fear. You could actually have peace in the middle of the storm. Do you get what I'm saying? All right, that brings me to my Bible story. Bible story, I said. We're talking about peace in the middle of a storm. It's possible, guys. All right, this is the Bible story. It is a story about Jesus and his disciples. Everybody say Jesus and his disciples.
Jesus and his disciples.
This is Mark 4. It says this. Everybody listen. Shh. And the same day, when nighttime was come, Jesus said, "Let us get into a ship and pass over to the other side of the lake." Right? Or it could be a sea. I'm not sure. So he says, "Let us get into a boat." He's talking to his disciples. And we're going over to the other side. It's at nighttime. All right. Easy enough. It says, "And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship, and there was also with him 2 other ships." So we got 2 other ships. That makes 3 ships going across. Jesus and his disciples were in 3 ships. It's nighttime. And Jesus says, "We're going to the other side." It says, "And then there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves started to crash and to beat into the ship, so that it was now full of water." Okay, now we're talking about standing on top of the skyscraper. Fear is starting to come, right? Because they're afraid that they are going to sink. This says the wind was pushing waves into the ship, and the ship was starting to get full of water. What happens when a ship gets full of water?
Ooh,
It sinks, right? When that ship gets full of water, there's only a few seconds left, and that ship's going to sink. So you can imagine, these disciples are starting to get terrified. It says, and Jesus was in the inside, the hinder part of the ship, and he was asleep on a pillow. You mean this whole time this storm is going on, he's asleep, resting his head on a pillow? All right, let's keep reading. And the disciples came, and they waked him up, and they said, Master, don't you care that we're dying? That's what they said. They came in there while Jesus was sleeping, and they woke him up, and they said, Jesus, don't you care we're about to die? Now, let's think about that for a second. If they're about to die, that means Jesus is about to die. Is that what's really going to happen?
No.
I don't think so. But that didn't stop them. Hey, listen to this. Hey, listen to this. Shh. Fear can cause you to think irrationally. It can cause you to not think with a correct, sharp mind. I'm sure if they would have thought about that for a little bit, without the fear, they could have came to a different conclusion. But when that fear was filling their mind and they were seeing the waves and the water was pouring into the ship, they started to get really scared. And they said, Jesus, we're going to die. Why don't you care? And this is what happened. And Jesus arose. He went out to the front of the ship and he rebuked the wind. You know what rebuke means? It means a command to stop. He commanded the wind to stop. And then he said unto the sea, Peace, be still. Jesus commanded the wind to stop. He rebuked the wind. And then he commanded the sea to be still and to stop crashing the waves. It says, and the wind stopped, and there was a great calm. Guys, can you imagine that? Can you imagine an entire storm, and all of a sudden, in one moment, it stops. Completely stops. Jesus got out there, and with his words, he brought that storm to a halt, and he brought those waves just completely still. And this is what happens. Jesus then, he's not done yet. He turns to his disciples and he says this. Catch this, guys. Everybody listen. After he stops the storm, he turns to his disciples and he says, why were you so afraid? All of a sudden they're like, He said, why were you so afraid? And how is it that you have no faith? So first, he's rebuking the wind. And then he commands the sea to stop. And then he turns to his disciples. And he says, why were you so afraid? And why did you not trust me? Those are some good questions. The disciples could not control their fears because they were not trusting in the, everybody look at me, parachute. He's done? Oh my gosh, you're just done. Hey, shh. So he looks to his disciples. Remember I talked about the parachute could help you control the fears? Jesus was that parachute. He was their safety, their protection. He was the one that watched over them. And because they didn't trust in Jesus, just like they didn't trust in the parachute, they were not able to control their fears. And Jesus points that out right away. He says, why were you being so afraid? And how come you weren't trusting in me? Remember what I said at the very beginning when I started? I said, that parachute could help you control your fears if you would trust it. When you jump off a building It's not so scary when you got a parachute. It would help you control your fears. And that is what I'm just trying to tell you guys right now. If you will put your trust in Jesus, you, in your situation at home, can stop fear. You get what I'm saying? You know, Jesus stopping the storm, that just proves what kind of protection that we have. That's the kind of protection me and you have. The God who can actually stop nature. And if you trust in Him, you know, you don't got to be afraid at night. Don't you guys sometimes you get scared at night. I know I used to. When my parents used to tell me to go outside and check out the trash or something when it was nighttime, I didn't really like doing that. I was kind of scared. Or when my mom used to tell me, go in the car, can you get something in the car, and it was nighttime? I didn't like going in the car when it was nighttime. I was like, I don't want to go in the car. But that's because I didn't know who to trust. I wasn't trusting anybody. And because I wasn't trusting anybody that could protect me, I was scared. And the fear got to doing roller coasters in my brain. But if you trust in Jesus, you can actually stop the fear. Everybody say, I can stop fear by trusting in Jesus. All right. And guys, that is it. Because your parents are here.
Mr. Josh.
Your parents are here.